Hey, Kyle is wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's WWE Raw from July 11th, 2022, and we are live from San Antonio, Texas, coming off of the back of one of the worst SmackDowns in its 20-year history, 20 plus year history, I should say. Wow, there's no way tonight's Raw could possibly be worse than that. SmackDown featured three advertised matches, none of them happened. The four matches we did get combined for 13 minutes of the entire show. So that's crap right there for sure. Uh, we've also come into this Raw now knowing since the last Monday Night Raw that there's quadruple the amount of allegations and amount of NDAs paid from Vince. So Vince is even in more hot water. I don't think he'll be able to survive this one. This time, a former women's wrestler was named as part of the NDAs, where um, basically NDAs wouldn't be signed unless there was shady things happening. So basically it was like people could lose their jobs if they say no to Vince's advances kind of thing. And then when they did throw a fit, they get millions of dollars thrown at them. So Vince McMahon's on his last leg for sure. So we'll see how this show goes. There's somewhat of signs of Triple H and Stephanie potentially getting more power. So even when Stephanie was named the interim CEO of WWE, we just figured she was going to be um, doing everything that Vince wanted her to do. But maybe, just maybe, Stephanie was a little mad about all the things that they tried to erase from her husband's hard work. Um, so there is a chance that Triple H might have a little bit more power now. He, remember, a few weeks ago came over to NXT in Orlando, the Performance Center. Triple H said, "I'm back." He simply said, "I'm back." Nobody quite knew what he meant. If he meant he was just there for that time being, or if he's back in charge, or what that meant. But we're now hearing reports that NXT will be recruiting independent wrestlers again. They had gone back. Remember, like any independent wrestler, meaning like when we got people like Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, all those kind of people all at once. And when they changed over to NXT 2.0 and pretty much erased Triple H's legacy, they wanted to only recruit college athletes and anybody that wasn't like former football players or basketball players types deal. So I think, as in everything, everything's good in moderation. You need some big 6'5" athletic guys and some big strong athletic women as well, but you also need some people that's going to guide them through these matches. That's where the 6, 7, 10-year veterans, maybe even 15-year veterans of the independent scene can help you out your product, especially when you have a good mix of all of them. So that little bit of news there tells us that Triple H might be getting a little bit more power. So, and along with Vince maybe being on his last leg, things might be able to finally improve for the first time basically in 20 years for WWE. I'm not going to say that entire 20 years was crap. There was good things within it, but there was three different times in that 20-year span where I was drove away from watching wrestling, period. One was the failed WCW invasion and what that meant going forward, that now there's no more competition and we just squashed the WCW invasion. So I left then. Then I left again when Super Cena just had to beat the Nexus at SummerSlam. I left that time. And then I left a third time somewhere around when Roman Reigns got leukemia. I don't want to get into that, but even the thoughts of me maybe, just maybe, thinking that it was faked was enough for me to say, I need a break. I'm taking this too serious. So I come back in, not too serious anymore, but still, that SmackDown last week offended me, how bad it was with the amount of squashes, how like Natalia couldn't even beat a one-legged woman who wasn't even in her gear, not even couldn't beat her, but lost in minutes without getting any offensive moves in, stuff like that. So we'll see. In the meantime, Vince is still in charge of the main roster for now. We've got 3 Raws and 3 SmackDowns until a big stadium SummerSlam event at the end of the month. Seemingly, it's like a night 3 of WrestleMania since they um, they failed to fill a stadium for Money in the Bank since they haven't made any stars. So they had to bring all those stars they had at WrestleMania back for SummerSlam. So we get matches like Corbin versus Pat McAfee and Miz versus Logan Paul. So those matches don't excite me whatsoever. I get why WWE does it. They want new people to watch the product. I'll talk with while I review the show. I'll talk about why the product can do things with to help itself and it doesn't have to rely on these celebrities. So we'll get into it. Celebrities aren't all bad. I mean, like people just enjoyed like the you know the Jackass match against Sami Zayn and stuff like that. So it can be done. It can be all right sometimes, but then be heavily reliant upon them while you make no new stars of your own is kind of a problem. So what we were told about Raw was that Brock returns. He will be on Raw, and I saw in the little opening 20 minutes before on USA they said Raw will open with Brock Lesnar. So they were also advertising Rollins versus Riddle. That's a lie. They were advertising a Lashley Open Challenge. That ends up being a lie. And then more stuff between the Judgment Day and Mysterios. And then also a rematch from Money in the Bank where Bianca Belair will defend her Raw title against Carmela. So that's what was told. Again, two things. I don't know what was lost in the translation there, why they announced two things and then made it a tag match combining the two. We'll get into that. I did take a quick peek over at the house show from last night in Waco, Texas. These are untelevised shows, so this was from last night. Sometimes we can look over here and find clues, and we ended up finding a clue. So I didn't know this was going to happen, obviously. I had already wrote it down here in my notes. So let's just go through it, and I'll see what I'm talking about. So this is from last night at the house show at Waco. You can't really take too much stock out of what happens at the house show. Like a lot of the times you're um, the baby face is going to win a match if it's between two even guys, since it's only for the live crowd, you kind of want to send them happy. But the first match, Veer Mahan beat R-Truth, but there was no way R-Truth was beating Veer. So this is again from the last night's house show in Waco, Texas. Veer beat R-Truth. Ezekiel beat Ciampa. So again, this is from the house show last night, but there is a reason I'm talking about this. There was a Dana Brooke 24/7 defense against Doudrop, and then this is the one I wanted to bring up. I just happened to be looking at the house show from last night, and I saw Dolph Ziggler defeating Theory. I'm like, oh, that's a little weird, but that does confirm what we saw a few weeks ago when Ziggler was able to beat Theory. Um, remember not no. When Ziggler came out with Bobby Roode and was interrupting MVP and Omos, and they were seemingly the Dirty Dogs were acting like good guys, like baby faces. So that kind of confirmed in my head here. Oh, Dolph Ziggler is a baby face. Nowhere in my mildest dreams would I think this would come into play during Raw, but it does. So yeah, you can find little clues here. Just to wrap up the other matches from the house show last night, Sunday night in Waco, Texas. Finn Balor beat Dominic. Asuka beat Becky. Omos beat Cedric, and Riddle beat Rollins in a street fight, which those two have been fighting on the house shows for about a month now. So they're definitely getting prepared to try and have the match of the night at SummerSlam when Riddle fights Rollins. That match has not been um, confirmed or advertised yet, but they have been building up that match for at least 3 weeks, maybe even a month now. So let's just get into Raw. Let me have a quick drink. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I'd already wrote down the house show, and then I was taking notes of how weird it was Ziggler was fighting Theory. But that kind of makes sense after watching Raw now. The only other thing of note was Ciampa losing to Zeke. But like I said, if two people are kind of similar on their trajectory, both of them being like mid card guys right now, usually the babyface will win the house show match. We start Raw with a recap of Roman talking on SmackDown. Roman only talked for a little bit. We got to see most of it here, so you could have just skipped SmackDown altogether and just watched this little recap here and gotten everything you needed out of SmackDown for the most part. Then Brock comes out, the big cheers. So here's Brock's return to Raw, and I don't think we've seen him since WrestleMania, other than his appearance right after Riddle and Roman fought for the title on SmackDown. So second appearance since WrestleMania, first on Raw. I love Brock, but this is just going to be the same stuff we've seen for a decade now. And I'm writing all this before we saw it. It ended up being a pretty good segment, but again, it was just there's about 4 or 5 different things they always do with Brock when he makes a Raw or SmackDown appearance. He never wrestles. He either goes out and talks and just cuts a promo on the guy. He either gets interrupted by someone and they have a back and forth. He might get attacked from behind and then beat someone up, or it might turn into a huge brawl. So there's basically only 4 things they've been doing for a decade now. Brock, I think, has only had like 2 Raw matches, and we all know the SmackDown match he had. He ended Kofi Mania in a couple seconds. So as much as I like Brock, I was not excited for this whatsoever. Um, So the only way I wrote down, the only way I would find this interesting if the entire 24/7 brigade comes down and ends up pissing off Brock and getting destroyed. We don't see that, but we do get to see some physicality, which at least is better than nothing. So Brock brings up how Roman's getting lazy as champion since WrestleMania and calls Roman a hog. And Brock slaughters hogs on his farm every day. And we got the classic Brock voice crack on that, and they even replayed the voice crack later on in the night where he's like, and you're a hog or something, like, you know how Brock does. So we even got the classic cracked voice Brock tonight. If the best one, if you remember, he's like, well, see you at WrestleMania on Sunday. But yeah, so Heyman comes out right after this, and Brock says, well, speaking of hogs, which was a good line there. Heyman puts over Brock and the match, hyping him up only like Heyman can. Heyman is great at this, but we've seen him hype up this match 6 other times now. We've seen him do it for both sides. We've seen him do it as a babyface, as a heel. We've seen everything he could say. So what possibly could he say? And I could have never imagined. If you didn't see it, you just wait to see what Heyman says. So Heyman says this someone that this match is going to be intense, so intense that Roman, stick with me on this one, will stick his hand up Brock's butt to rip Brock's heart out. And I'm like, oh, well, there you go. I guess perverted was the only route they haven't gone yet in selling us this 7th time in a pay-per-view title match. So that's ridiculous. I never wanted to picture that in my entire life, but now it's been pictured, and I might not sleep tonight. So anyway, Brock is just about to ask, did he just say? But then Theory's music hits. So quickly we can move on from Roman sticking his hand up Brock's butt. That was ridiculous. I don't know why they would say that. Anyway, Theory's music hits, and he says that he will be U.S. champion, and then put my foot on the chest of whoever wins the main event to win 3 titles in one night. And Brock says, let's go now. Let's fight now. Theory says he has footage he wants to show Brock. And holy crap, I had forgotten about this nasty bump. Of course, I remember Brock just coming into the Elimination Chamber and ruining basically 6 months of hard work that the Raw roster was doing to try and make themselves stars. It was all erased in 30 seconds when Brock's chamber, well, it didn't even open. He broke out on his own, destroyed the entire Raw main event scene in 30 seconds. Theory was the last one to survive, if you remember, by running around, climbing up the cage, and then got F5s off of a pod. So I forgot about that. That was a big bump though, and they didn't even show the bump. They blacked out the bump so that you couldn't see it. If I remember, I think he fell like on his feet, so it didn't look amazing. But it's kind of weird that they wouldn't show the bump. They showed it 3 times being tossed off, but then they would black out, like blurring almost. Um, Censoring the bump, which was weird. Anyway, Theory says, I showed that to remind you that I haven't forgotten. And now Alpha Academy show up. And there has been a little bit of an Alpha Academy Theory partnership in the last couple of weeks. So Brock says, oh, all the cockroaches are coming out tonight. Otis squares up the Brock. Gable is able to come from behind with a chop block, but Brock stays on his feet and just destroys both men. Brock picks up the steel steps and viciously slams it into the face of both Gable and Otis. I think Gable got at least 2 really hard shots. Looked really nasty. And then a chair is now hit on both of Alpha Academy's backs. Brock suplexes Gable into a cameraman and then F5s Otis through the announce table, and the crowd's going wild. So at least we got to see Brock destroying people tonight. And it did legit make me worried about Alpha Academy's health, which is exactly what Brock should be doing. He should be making you remember how we all felt when he made when he took his elbow and made Orton a pool of his own blood. So and this wasn't like nothing could be that intense, but this was kind of along those lines. When he was hitting those steel steps, you're like, oh God, I hope Alpha Academy's okay. So hopefully no concussions for Alpha Academy. And I could have done without that perverted comment from Heyman, but hopefully that was just an isolated incident, and we're not going to get any more talk like that in this feud. We'll probably, I don't know if Roman is scheduled to be on SmackDown this week or maybe take a week off and come back the next week. I have no idea. Um, So then we're told for some reason the Lashley Open Challenge is canceled. I swear it wasn't just a fever dream that I dreamed up that Lashley was having an Open Challenge. I swear I saw that somewhere. And then I also swear I saw it was Riddle versus Rollins. But instead, it's now going to be Lashley and Riddle versus Theory and Rollins. And that makes 5 matches that WWE announced that didn't happen in the last 2 hours, 20 minutes of WWE television in that 140 minutes of television. Instead of those 5 announced matches, we've gotten 4 other matches that equaled 30 minutes or 13 minutes of the 140. So ridiculous. But Raw does get better from this point on. So before we go to an ad break, Rey Mysterio comes out with Dominic. Rey's going to be fighting Finn Balor. And after 2 disappointing tag matches, on one of them on main event and one on Raw last week, maybe we can finally get the good Rey versus Finn stuff that's why I watched main event the other week, because I wanted to see Rey in the ring with Finn Balor. So maybe we'll finally get some good stuff tonight. Also, I still do want to see Rey Mysterio turn heel and join the Judgment Day, but I know that's never going to happen now, because if Rey didn't leave his son in a pool of his own blood in their hometown on the 4th of July, it'll never happen, because that was the absolute perfect opportunity to do it. And since they didn't do it, it will never happen. So this probably will be leading to Dominic turning heel, which nobody was really going to care about whatsoever. And all it does, well, I mean, it it would only work if Dominic's good, but Dominic's not good. He needs to go to NXT for training. He's not that great. So it's not going to work. Anyway, when we come back from break, the Judgment Day is now making their entrance. It's still really super cool. The song is great. Hopefully, they can start doing something worthwhile. I was so excited when the Judgment Day first started. I was excited to see Finn Balor. Even when they kicked Edge out, I was still excited because, okay, let's see Finn Balor as a heel running a faction. Maybe it'll become kind of like Bullet Club or something. But so far, it's been a huge disappointment. Unfortunately, Rhea Ripley got injured. She kneed herself off the rope, having to get dental surgery and a really bad brain injury / concussion, and now has to wear a Rhea Ripley is now wearing a heart monitor because her health is a little bit bad. I don't think it's anything to get super worried about, but Rhea Ripley is out, unfortunately, and I think that was going to make the Judgment Day a little bit better. If you remember, Rhea Ripley was #1 contender, and it looked like all 3 of the Judgment Day members were going to be trying to intimidate Bianca together. So there was supposed to be some more stuff coming out of this. Rhea Ripley's injury unfortunately sidelined the Judgment Day all the way to main event. And because they were supposed to be doing stuff with Bianca. And maybe that explains why we got so many. Remember how many singles matches we got between the Usos and the Street Profits? I'm pretty sure the Street Profits were supposed to have a side story where they were coming to Bianca's aid because Montez wouldn't have liked Priest and Balor intimidating his wife. So I'm pretty sure Rhea's injury kind of messed up 3 different stories at once, which is totally unfortunate. Not her fault whatsoever. Hopefully she gets back on her feet and comes back 100%. So let's get into this match. Like I said, hopefully Judgment Day can finally start doing something. Finn Balor comes out. Damian Priest is wearing a suit. And then we see a recap of last week, the Judgment Day beating up the Mysterios backstage after their match uh, that happened last week. If you remember, or if you didn't see it, Rey Mysterio won the match last week. It was a tag match, and Rey did the old act like he hit me with a chair, lie, cheat, and steal Eddie Guerrero style win in his hometown. So that was pretty cool. Let's see what happens this week. I'm really looking forward to this. And Damian then gets on the mic before the match can start and tells the crowd to rise and says what happened last week was justice. Just like in 2 weeks, Rey Mysterio will be celebrating his 20th anniversary in WWE at Madison Square Garden, which again, wow, how amazing would it have been if Rey did turn on his son in his hometown on the 4th of July, and then Rey goes to Madison Square Garden 3 weeks later for his 20th anniversary, a complete asshole heel. How great would that have been? But instead, we're just going to get the same old, cheer for him and all that. But anyway, that should be a good event, and I think there's a lot of people scheduled to show at that Madison Square Garden show, including, I think, Brock and Roman both. So that's in 2 weeks, right before SummerSlam. Damian then tells Dom that the future of this business will be decided by the Judgment Day, and you're welcome to join us. Step out of your father's shadow and rise with the Judgment Day, or continue to fall with your father. So they're heavily recruiting Dominic. I have no idea why. And Finn says, relax, relax, tranquilo. So a little shout out to Naito and the rest of LIJ, or even the original Los Ingobernables faction. Um, I like that from Finn. And then we see a recap of the Judgment Day kicking Edge out of his own faction, the one he started. So we see a little recap there. And then Finn says that Ray's a bad father, which they don't really explain enough why Ray's a bad father. Their reasoning for Ray being a bad father is, look how bad your son is, and you continue to trot him out here on Raw, and he's terrible, kind of deal. They don't want to say that out loud and bury Dom on the mic, but that's what they're talking about. And then before the match can even start, we go to an ad break, which sucks. I get that you have to have ad breaks, but I don't like the timing. So one guy comes out, we go to an ad break. Then the other guy comes out, we talk for a little bit, go to another ad break. So hopefully this can still give us like a 20-minute match here. It's a 3-hour show. Why can't we get Finn Balor versus Ray for 20 minutes and get to see a great match? So let's see. I don't even care who would win. I don't even care if it had a clean finish. I just want to see these two go at it in the ring. So and damn, when we come back, it looks like we missed like the entire first 3 minutes of the match. They're already well into the action. That's crap. Anyway, we're told Priest was helping on the outside, and that's why Finn Balor is now in control. Soon after, Ray turns it around with a dive to the outside onto Balor. Right after this, Balor's right back in control, slows the pace down with a hold. Finn then hits a backbreaker for a 2 count, then works a chin lock, and Dom gets the crowd to rally behind Ray, hitting the apron. Finn then cuts off the comeback with a knee and right into a vertical suplex. Vin teases doing the Three Amigos. This makes the crowd boo big time. So Finn, instead of doing the second Amigo, hits another big knee to the gut instead. Ray then goes up top a little bit later, but Balor clips the knee, and the knee gets caught. The like 20 surgically repaired times knee of Rey Mysterio gets caught. And wow, this match is really heating up, but damn, we're going to another commercial break. Of course, that is a good time to go to commercial break, but they should have showed the beginning of the match, and then this should have been the point where we go to commercial break. Like, I don't understand why this is going to be. I noted that this is probably one of the only great matches of the night, which there's some decent matches later on, but nothing like a 1v1, like two legends of the ring, and we don't get to see enough of the match. Like, when we come in, it's 3 minutes in, then it should have been the first ad break now, but when we come back, it's pretty much almost over when we come back. It ends within a minute or two of coming back. And then what we got to see for that last couple of minutes was pretty good. But again, we missed probably half, almost 60% of this match. When it's the one match that you could put on and that would have people talking, maybe going on Twitter and telling their friends, hey, really good Rey Mysterio Finn Balor match going on right now. Check it out, and stuff like that. So I don't get why they do the things they do at all. So anyway, when we come back from break, Ray hits a massive top rope hurricanrana immediately when we come back. Seems like we missed some of the best parts of the match. Ray immediately then hits a 619, but misses the frog splash. Ray almost pins Balor anyway, catching him with a pin, but only getting a 2 count. Balor gets up first, but Ray counters. Balor counters back and hits a sling blade. Ray counters that, but his knee was too hurt on flipping out of the counter, and gets hit with the 1916. Finn goes up to the top rope, hits the coup de grace for the 1-2-3. Your winner by pinfall is Finn Balor. Then Finn stares into the eyes of Dominic after the match, but nothing else happened. And wow, yeah, this is probably going to be the match of the night, and it would have been if I got to see more of it, but we missed, like I said, about 60% of the match happened in commercials. That's trash. All the other stuff within this 3-hour show that you could put a commercial during that we didn't have to see, and we don't get to see, like, probably the best stuff. So, I mean, the live crowd got to watch a good match, but we did not. So anyway, let's just move on. That's kind of trash, though. Becky Lynch is now making her entrance as we go to another ad break. When we come back, Becky is standing on the announcer's table. She's got a good-looking purple jacket, shiny, purple jacket. So Becky says she was disappointed. She lost the Money in the Bank match, but then realized she didn't need a lottery ticket to win like Liv does. She works her butt off to get title matches. Becky says she never got her mandatory rematch after WrestleMania and has been working hard ever since. She demands a title match at SummerSlam and then throws the mic down. So Bianca's music hits, but she's just out for her match. She's not out here to talk. But Becky yells at Bianca off the mic that she deserved the one-on-one rematch. And Becky completely, even though she's the heel, has a point. It makes absolutely no sense that Carmella would have yet another title shot here when Carmella lost a one-on-one title match 9 days ago, and pretty convincingly. So Becky beat Asuka in the main event last week, and Carmella hasn't won any matches since her number one contendership match. So Becky has completely valid reasons to be mad, which usually you don't want your heel telling the truth. So that's a little weird. Anyway, Carmella comes out and this match is going to start. It is for the Raw Women's title, and Becky's going to take a seat ringside, but not on commentary. So Bianca starts the match strong, of course, and the action spills out right away near Becky. Becky's telling Bianca that she keeps making me jump through hoops. And we go to an ad break. So again, this is a match. I don't care if we missed the action unlike that last match. We just saw Bianca beat Carmella no problem 9 days ago. And I looked up while we were on ad break. I looked up Carmella's. I wanted to know what Bianca's been doing, or what was all the title defenses she's had on TV or pay-per-view. So she's defended once against both Sonya Deville and Carmella. This is the second one, of course, against Carmella, and then it was just the other one was that triple threat at Hell in the Cell against Asuka and Becky. So not a really good that triple threat match was good. The Sonya Deville match was terrible, and that Carmella match was terrible. So nothing much to since. Not much going on. I mean, since she won the title at WrestleMania, no fault of her own. There was like a long stretch there where we weren't. I think like a whole month went by where we didn't even see Bianca wrestle between Hell in the Cell and Money in the Bank. So I wish that was a little bit different since Bianca is a star. Anyway, when we come back from the break, Carmella's got a head scissors on and then hits a crossbody. Something must have happened during the break because Carmella is in control weirdly. Carmella then goes to the top for another crossbody, but Bianca catches it. So Carmella does not play the WWE 2K because she would know don't go for the same move twice in a row. Bianca's able to deadlift Carmella up for a delayed suplex out of that caught crossbody. No marching around this time by Bianca, though. I like when she marches around on the delayed. Anyway, big shoulder tackle after that by Bianca, who's all fired up. Bianca flips out after a leapfrog in the corner, but then gets caught with a roll-up. Bianca counters into a roll-up of her own, then another backflip. Glam slam by Bianca now. It looks like it might be getting over, but it is not. So Carmella shows a lot of fight, hits a super kick after this. And wow, just already, this is probably better than their Money in the Bank match. Much more competitive. And now I do kind of miss what we didn't see in the ad break. See how that works? You never quite know, but you should know when it's like a Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio first time one-on-one match. Like, anyway, I'll move on in case you're not as upset about that as I am. Bianca then hits a snake eyes from a powerbomb position, which was pretty cool. And Carmella counters the kiss of death into an X Factor. Pretty smooth on that one. A little clunky, but still smooth. A hard move to pull off, and it eventually got pulled off. That gets Carmella a 2 count. And like I said, surprisingly competitive match here. Carmella then hits some elbow strikes, but this just fires up Bianca even more. Carmella then blocks a power bomb, but eats a lariat right after that. That looked nice. And like I said, holy crap, good match alert out of nowhere. Bianca then hits the worst move of the match. Really bad looking spine buster from Bianca for a 2 count. Maybe she just slipped out of her hands or something, but that was bad. Crowd's chanting EST. They don't care about the botch. They're down with some EST. The action spills out near Becky again, and I thought, oh, here we go. We're gonna get the old somebody gets thrown in the Becky thing, but nope, they just go right back in the ring. Bianca goes to the top rope, but Carmella is able to roll out the other side of the ring. So Bianca goes after Carmella, but Carmella blocks another move and then rakes the eyes. I'm like, wow, man, this is really competitive. Bianca now is able to throw Carmella into the ring post, and back into the ring. But then Bianca stupidly, or at least maybe stupidly, stick with me on this one. I have a theory, but Bianca stupidly gets distracted by Becky and gets counted out, losing the match but keeping the title. So either that was just them making Bianca look like she's easily distracted, which is probably the case, or if you want to look deeper, which you should probably never do when it comes to WWE, but maybe Bianca thought Becky was about to cost her the title in that very moment, and decided that a count out would get her out of this situation with the title. So you can look at it two ways. But Carmela celebrates in the ring with the title, but of course didn't win it. Bianca hits Carmela with the kiss of death, and then holds her own title held high. So while staring at Becky. So that's gonna. I mean, that was probably the match of WrestleMania, if not the match. It was one A and 1B with the Cody Seth match. But so I'm really looking forward to the SummerSlam match. I'm looking forward to that. And Becky, like I said, brought up a lot of like valid points. She wasn't lying about any of the stuff, and it's true. She never got a one-on-one rematch for the title. So we get a recap after that of Ciampa attacking AJ Styles last week, seemingly becoming the latest lackey to The Miz. So basically, one of the greatest NXT creations of all time is Miz's lackey, but they do somewhat explain that in a little bit here. So Ciampa finally gets an entrance, but it's with the Miz's music next to The Miz. Remember, Ciampa has been on Raw since WrestleMania and has never got an entrance. Jimmy Smith tells us it will be Miz and Ciampa against AJ, but first it'll be Miz TV after the break with special guest Ciampa. So that should be interesting. And yeah, I was thinking either Jimmy just said that wrong or it is a handicap match, but it will be a handicap match, but it won't be. So stick with me on that. After the break, when we come back, we see that creepy vignette about Edge's return again. And it's definitely confirmed later on. This is the exact same one, but we do get to see a new version of the vignettes later on. So stick tuned for that. Miz welcomes us to Miz TV. This is about the no joke 20th edition of Miz TV in 2022, and we're only halfway through the year. That's a lot of Miz TV segments. So Miz confirms that it is a handicap match versus AJ after this. Ciampa then gets a ton of boos, so I'm guessing that part of putting Ciampa with Miz is good. And then Ciampa basically confirms that when he's with what he says. So Ciampa says he wants the eyes of the world to be on him, and nobody commands the attention of the people more than Miz. So I guess that all makes sense. If this is all real and Ciampa's a character that went from NXT to Raw, and then Ciampa notices that he can't get any entrances, barely can get any matches, gets stuck on main event and stuff like that. So Ciampa said, enough is enough. I need to go with a guy that gets a lot of the attention, that has a freaking talk show every single week. So I guess that makes sense if you want to think of it like that. So Miz then puts himself over and talks about making the career of Logan Paul, which is the part of this Ciampa thing I don't like, because there's no doubt in my mind that Ciampa is going to get pinned by Logan Paul probably before SummerSlam or at SummerSlam. Maybe end up being a tag match if they don't think Logan Paul can do a singles match. So anyway, he talks about Miz talks about making the career of Logan Paul at WrestleMania, and Miz is stumbling over his words a lot. Ciampa says he wants WrestleMania and SummerSlam opportunities. He just wants that opportunity. And we see a new Logan Paul video. This time, Logan Paul says he's coming for Miz at SummerSlam. So Miz responds to that by saying he knows what he's doing. He knows it, but nobody does it better than me. Retract your statement and we'll become tag team champions, or I'll find someone else and I won't have to look far. Ciampa, all the eyes of the world will be on us. And then AJ Styles music hits. So AJ says nobody cares about what either of you says. AJ's also stumbling through his promo just like Miz was. What the heck's going on here? Then we get 8 straight weeks of Raw in a row where we talk about Miz's balls. That whole segment was trash. Everyone was stumbling over their lines. Ezekiel comes out now and says Elias used to tell him about how phenomenal AJ was, and Zeke talked to Adam Pearce and got this handicap match changed into a tag match. So then AJ misses the handshake with Zeke, and everything went botched in that segment. So we go to an ad break before the match can even start. Then when we come back, Ciampa and Zeke are in the ring. The match has already started. The crowd is booing, so Ciampa must have been in control. Zeke then counters an arm drag with a headlock. And no clean break out of this when Ciampa hits a loud chop. Zeke hits a donkey kick and a loud chop of his own as a receipt. Ciampa then counters a running move with a big boot and then tags in The Miz. Zeke then tags in AJ and they kick each other. AJ gets control as the crowd chants AJ Styles. The crowd was loving AJ here. AJ then gets Miz caught in their corner and tags in Zeke, but Zeke just loses control immediately and Ciampa gets tagged in. So Zeke then hits a flapjack on Ciampa, but Ciampa counters another running move, this time with a back elbow. Miz then gets a cheap shot on Zeke, and Ciampa takes major control, throwing Zeke into the barricade. Ciampa and Miz do a little pose now. That was pretty funny. Back in the ring, Miz now tags in while Ciampa throws Zeke back out of the ring. Miz goes on the attack and yells at the camera as we go to an ad break. So not a terrible match so far. Hopefully Ciampa pins Zeke, but spoiler alert, he doesn't. And I looked up if Elias had ever fought Ciampa in NXT, and they have not, but they were in the same battle royal back in 2015, a long, long time ago. So almost 7 years ago on NXT, these guys were in the battle royal together, where Apollo Crews won, and I thought you guys might enjoy hearing the names that just as much as I saw seeing them. So Apollo Crews won this battle royal that had Baron Corbin, Blake, Bull Dempsey, Big Cass, Danny Burch, Dash Wilder, Elias Enzo, Johnny Gargano, Mojo Rawley, Murphy, Rhino, Riddick Moss, which is Madcap, Samoa Joe, Scott Dawson, Steve Cutler, which is Macklin, and Tommaso Ciampa, Ty Dillinger, Tyler Breeze, and Zack Ryder. So there's a who's who of a battle royal right there from 7 years ago NXT. And of course, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson are FTR if you don't know. So I almost kind of want to go watch that after I'm done here. Just want to go see that battle royal. Anyway, after the break, Zeke is in trouble and isolated with quick tags from The Miz and Ciampa. Ciampa then works over one of the best looking chin locks in all of WWE, and you know everybody has a chin lock. That's what they do every time you come back from a commercial break, and that's what they do every time they want the crowd to rally. It's the signal, and it's not just WWE. Like New Japan even does it, where when they want the crowd to rally behind the other guy, just locking a chin lock. That's the unspoken code throughout the entire world for the crowd to start rallying behind the guy in the chin lock. So anyway, Zeke hits a high knee, really good looking high knee, and then tag into AJ. Miz tags in too. So AJ takes down The Miz and hits a running forearm and a gut buster for a 2 count. Great stuff here from AJ. He kicked it into the second gear here. And AJ knocks Ciampa off the apron, but The Miz hits a DDT for a 2 count right after that. AJ is able to counter the skull crushing finale into an Ushi-Giroshi, but Ciampa comes in to break up the pin. Ezekiel and Ciampa both end up thrown to the outside as AJ locks in the calf crusher, but Ciampa is able to get back in and stops this. The ref calls for a disqualification when Ciampa starts punching AJ, which is crap. So what the heck? We kind of saw something like this happen in a tag match on Main Event 2 weeks ago, and I joked about how, oh, that's only because this is a main event match. They would never do that on Raw, but apparently I'm wrong. There's no reason for. I don't think there's enough reason here to call for the DQ, which makes it look silly. And why couldn't they just had Ciampa pin Zeke? You just made Ciampa the new lackey of The Miz. Can he not just get a pin on Ezekiel, which nobody really cares about? Ezekiel can take pins and nobody's going to care, bro. So that sucks. Anyway, Miz and Ciampa run away and that segment ends. In the back, Riddle is talking to Lashley. Remember, they will team up in the main event tonight. Lashley's smiling at how goofy Riddle is. Lashley says they'll make Theory and Rollins pay tonight. And then Riddle wants to watch Stranger Things with Bobby after Raw, but Bobby says he's already watched it. So that was pretty funny. Riddle definitely fears being alone. It's definitely clear. Remember how quickly Riddle attached himself to Nakamura and stuff like that. So Riddle definitely has a fear of being alone. And likes to be surrounded by people. So anyway, Alexa Bliss is now making her entrance, and we're told after the break it will be Doudrop and Nikki A.S.H. versus Alexa and Asuka. And wow, so remember Alexa and Asuka's kind of weird interaction last week before Asuka fought Becky Lynch in the main event. Alexa was saying it was time to get gold, but basically Asuka said that she was going to be getting the gold instead. So maybe, just maybe, Alexa Bliss and Asuka were both telling the truth and will win the tag titles together. So that's if the tag titles aren't dead. I hope they're not dead. I hope the women's tag titles aren't gone forever. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to see something like an Alexa Bliss Asuka tag team championship reign. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that one. But anyway, after the break, Alexa music is still playing, and then Asuka comes out. Nikki gets a little short entrance, and then Doudrop's music plays for the rest of their entrance. And I hate when people sing their own theme music. So Doudrop was singing her own music. That was annoying. Anyway, Nikki and Asuka start the match. Nikki hits a shoulder tackle, and Asuka goes wild, which makes Nikki kind of go into wild mode like she used to as Nikki Cross. That was pretty funny. Asuka outsmarts Nikki right after that and takes her down, then tags in Alexa. So Nikki counters Alexa, and Doudrop makes a blind tag, comes in and destroys Alexa Bliss with an avalanche tackle, Vader style. Great move there by Doudrop. The crowd didn't make one noise for that. Screw the crowd. That move was great. Screw you. Nikki back in now and locks Alexa in with like almost an Oscar lock of all things. That instead of a chicken wing, it was a hammer lock, but with the cross face, but close enough. Kind of, I would have avoided that in a move where Asuka's in the match. Anyway, Doudrop and Asuka both tag in. Asuka hits big strikes on Doudrop. Asuka then hits a missile drop kick where she did it lucha libre style off the middle rope. That was really cool. Nikki now tags in and eats a knee right away from Asuka. Asuka knocks Doudrop off the corner with a hip attack and covers Nikki for a 2 count. Alexa then tags in and hits her finisher, the DDT, for the win. And yes, I can confirm that Alexa's finisher, other than Twisted Bliss, on at least on WWE 2K22, is that same DDT. So right when Alexa hit the DDT, I knew the match was over, and it was. Your winners by pinfall are Alexa Bliss and Asuka. And it'll be interesting to see if this is maybe a team that goes for the women's tag titles, or if just the women's tag titles are gone forever. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. We see a recap of the botched ending. Not quite botched; they did it on purpose, but you know what I mean. Of the Street Profits versus Usos Money in the Bank tag title match. Then we see the Usos music hits right here in San Antonio. Big booze for the Usos. So Usos are eating up all the booze on their way to the ring, and I hope they fight anyone other than Montez and Angelo. We've seen about 5 different versions of those matches in the last 4 months or so. So I was really hoping, and damn, we're told after the break it'll be Jimmy Uso versus Angelo Dawkins. So I wasn't looking forward to that. When we come back from the break, the Usos are in the ring and they have a microphone, and they said, "We're out here like a broken record," which is at least WWE is self-aware that they are a broken record in general. But that almost makes it worse because they just do it anyway, you know. So the Usos don't say anything of note after that, and then the Street Profits come out, the real big cheers, and they're all fired up and getting the Usos' faces, saying they're gonna win the titles. Then out of nowhere, R-Truth's music hits, and I'm like, nice, this should be good. This is gonna be at least something different. So the Truth says we're in San Antonio, the city of brotherly love, which he mixes up with Philadelphia, of course. Truth says he's a certified tag team counselor, so we can just get along and let me counsel. Jay tells Truth to get out of here unless he's the ref. Truth says, well, I just happen to be a certified ref as well, and has a ref shirt on under his shirt. Truth then shows that he can do a 3 count on a pinfall. Then Truth shows that he can count to 10. Well, he stops at 7. But Jimmy yells at Truth and interrupts him, calling him a clown. Truth gets mad at this and said that he's certified to fight as well. Then has real big trouble taking his ref shirt off. Montez can probably relate with his new muscles that he's got now, so helps him helps R-Truth get out of the ref shirt. But R-Truth says he'll fight both of them right now, but with his partners, of course. So then, holy crap! As if this segment couldn't get any more random, Omos's music hits. So Omos and the Bloodline confirmed. Not really, but for one night apparently. MVP says he was watching R-Truth make a fool of himself in the back, and says, why not let Omos be the referee? But then seemingly changes his mind right away, because then MVP says, let's have a 6-man tag. So that was weird. Truth then says, remember the Alamo, and charges at Omos. Omos and the Usos clear the ring and have Truth all alone in the ring, but then we just go to an ad break. So I'm assuming we'll come back to the 6-man tag, which we do, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it was like we come back and Alexa's trying to sell us credit cards again. So you never couldn't quite tell. But after the break, the bell rings for this match, and Omos and Angelo are in the ring to start the 6-man tag. This is a match you definitely could have started while we were in ad break, and not the. Why would you start the Finn and the Rey Mysterio match in the ad break? Again, I have to bring that up. So anyway, um, quick tags by the Usos and Omos. All three of them keep R-Truth isolated. R-Truth in back-to-back weeks with a match outside of the 24/7 division, getting destroyed by Gunther last week and now getting destroyed again here. MVP talks trash to R-Truth from the outside. R-Truth is able to avoid a triple team, and the Street Profits run in to help, which kind of screwed over R-Truth because they probably would have just preferred R-Truth to tag out at that moment. But anyway, triple drop kick now knocks Omos off the apron, but Omos lands on his feet. Omos then catches a dive to the outside from R-Truth and slams Truth into the mat outside the ring as we go to break. So that's my point exactly. Watching R-Truth get beat down by a giant and then the tag champions as well does nothing for nobody. R-Truth has long been a joke character on the bottom of the rankings. Meanwhile, Finn versus Rey is a match that people might actually want to tune in for, but everyone now knows like if everyone's already been burned multiple times by WWE. If they say it's going to be Finn versus Rey, you know that you don't really have to tune in if you're just a fringe kind of guy that wants to watch good matches. So because of the fact that WWE has screwed people so many times, and this would have been yet another example where you miss 60% of the Finn Balor Rey Mysterio match. But it is kind of weird. You can never quite tell where a good or bad match is going to happen. Like they had Bianca absolutely destroy Carmela at the pay-per-view, but then tonight it was a really good competitive match. So you just can't tell. For people that watched literally every single minute of the product, that's fine with me per se, because I know I can see something good eventually. But for people like, it's ridiculously hard to get new fans to start watching weekly because they know that they get burned too many times by these different things, and they're like, well, why would I watch this weekly if I don't see the one week I watch, I don't get to see what they advertised or whatever. So the way they do things really is not conclusive, or like, I don't see how you would ever make new fans. Anyway, when we come back, the crowd's pretty loud. R-Truth is still isolated in the ring, so the Street Profits must have been going crazy on the apron to get the crowd loud. Omos is picking Truth apart slowly, really boringly. Omos knocks Dawkins off the apron. Um, Truth's in a bad way. Omos does a pose. Jay now tags in, and he hits a super kick while Omos holds Truth. That was nice looking. Truth then hits an enziguri to finally tag out. Montez Ford comes in with a great hot tag offense. Ford takes out both Usos and slaps Omos on the apron. Great stuff there. Unreal move next. A massive blockbuster, standing blockbuster by Montez. He did it from that standing position and got the same air as other people get when they come off the top rope. That's just insane. Omos then goes after Dawkins on the outside. But Montez is able to help Dawkins escape, and they both throw Omos into the ring post. So we're about to get the end of the match. That's what WWE's way of always getting anybody that's big out of the match. Throw them in the ring post. Tag to Dawkins now. They hit a double team on Jimmy, but Jay's able to break up the pin just in time. Out of nowhere, Truth tries a 5-knuckle shuffle, but Omos thankfully stops it. Dawkins then shakes off a super kick, no-sells it basically, and then hits the 360 stinger splash into the corner. Omos tags in, choke bombs Dawkins into the nether realm for the 1-2-3. Big choke bomb there, and apparently that post didn't do a good enough job. So the winners by pinfall are Omos and the Usos, and the crowd is booing heavily, and we just move on. So we'll move on as well. Nothing much to say out of that. It should be a good match. Again, Street Profits versus Usos, but like I've been saying on these reviews, I'm not happy that they extended it to SummerSlam. I thought with what a great match they had at Money in the Bank that it should have just been done at that point, but we'll see if they can pull out an even better match. There is that possibility. So we see a quick recap of Brock Lesnar at the start of the Raw. I'm sure I don't need to recap that again. And in the back, Kevin Patrick is now with Seth Rollins. We're getting close to our main event. And Rollins says he feels great. It's Monday Night Raw and the main event. Rollins doesn't care if it's Ezekiel or Elias or anyone else. If they stand in my way, they'll get taken down. But he does want to know who Riddle thinks he is. Is he just some ultra talented savant, or is he just some idiot bro? He isn't a person that can ride Randy's coattails anymore, and he's not someone who can use my name to chase clout. So Theory then interrupts Seth. Remember, there'll be partners in the main event tonight, and Theory asks Seth for advice on cash-ins. Seth laughs and looks happy and says, "Oh, you've come to the right spot. Walk with me, baby." So then we go to an ad break, and that's super interesting. So we've already seen that Theory has taken up Seth's original advice. Remember when they were on the ladders and Seth told all the qualifiers that whoever wins, it's already clear that the best time and the only time the cash in will be after Brock and Roman fight in the last man standing match. And he's got a good point. You never know if Brock and Roman are ever going to be that beaten up again in the entire year. So that's a good idea right there. And you can always change your mind if Brock Lesnar loses in 30 seconds, you can change your mind. So anyway, when we come back, we see a new version of the creepy vignette video, and in this time, it definitely confirms it's Edge. This time, we see Randy Orton memorabilia, Cena, and Mick Foley memorabilia as the rivals of Edge this time. So last time it was the Hardys, Dudleys, Kurt Angle, and Eddie Guerrero. That was the beginning of Edge's career. Rivals from his beginning. Now we see the rivals from the middle part of Edge's career when Edge was at his best, when he was in his prime and the ultimate opportunist winning title after title. So good stuff here. Maybe we'll see a third one that'll be Edge now or whatever. Maybe that would be the last one. So I'm guessing Edge is going to have a match at SummerSlam, but I don't know if we'll see Edge before SummerSlam. So I'm assuming maybe we'll see one video telling the Judgment Day, like the lookout or whatever, and maybe we'll see Finn Balor versus Edge at SummerSlam. That's a good, if you just look at it without looking at the stories and you're just looking 50 years from now at what are the cards at WrestleMania and SummerSlam, seeing Edge go from AJ Styles to Finn Balor, not too bad of an idea. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if I'm right about that. After that vignette, then we're told Jake Paul will be here next week, and Corey is joking around by saying, "Oh, and we're supposed to be excited," which is funny because nobody that is a wrestling fan is going to be excited. But Corey was just trying to make a joke saying like the Miz created Logan, but in reality, that's how all wrestling fans feel. How are we supposed to be excited by Logan Paul being there next week? So that's pretty funny. Anyway, Lashley's now making his entrance. It's time for the main event. Lashley gets big cheers from the crowd, but Riddle gets even more when he comes out. So these are two of your biggest stars in the WWE right now. I would say both of them are getting better reactions than Drew McIntyre over on SmackDown, which of course probably means Drew McIntyre is going to be the one that beats Roman and not these two. Uh, but hopefully not. I think Drew McIntyre is always better as a heel. I don't buy him as a face, especially now with his stupid broken bent sword from SmackDown. How dorky can you look? But anyway, Lashley, the crowd is chanting "bro" as Riddle makes his way to the ring, and we go to another ad break. Right when we go to ad break, we get to see a really cool video showing Liv Morgan 8 years ago in NXT, right when she got to NXT. And then we also hear Liv explaining how she was terrible when she first got there, but worked hard to get better. And I'm not even a Liv Morgan fan, but this is exactly the kind of thing they should have opened Raw or SmackDown or both with this video. Instead, it's buried in the third hour of the next week's Raw, and right after they already said they're going to an ad break. So I wonder how many people actually were able to see this video, which is a shame because it was a good reminder of how far Liv Morgan has come for people like me that kind of give her crap for not being that great. But it is a good reminder that she has come a long way. But I do agree with Becky when she said, I don't need a lottery ticket to win the title, unlike some people. So when we come back from break, we see a recap from last week when Rollins was about to attack Zeke even more, but was stopped with an RKO from Riddle out of nowhere. So Rollins makes his entrance now to booze, and Theory makes his entrance. I definitely miss Theory's NXT music, but at least WWE 2K still has that good music. I'm in July of 2023 in my universe mode, and Theory is the unified WWE champion, if you're wondering. So next week, we're told Raw will be live from Tampa, Florida, and maybe a visit, hopefully, if we're lucky, a visit from Big E. That would be nice, because I'm pretty sure Big E lives in Tampa, but maybe he lives in Orlando and just built from, maybe he just grew up in Tampa. Anyway, um if you remember, Biggie still has, to this day, even though he cut it in July, Biggie has one of the best promos in all of WWE this year. I think it was the Raw right after losing the WWE title at day one, where Biggie was talking about how he's going to get the title back. So if you missed that or haven't seen that one in a while, definitely go see that. That might be one of the best promos in all of WWE's this year. And I think it happened on like January 2nd or something like that. So our main event starts with Theory and Riddle in the ring. Theory takes control, and then we get quick tags between Theory and Rollins. The crowd's booing this, of course. Riddle's able to dodge an attack and hits Theory with rapid kicks and a gut wrench suplex. So now Lashley tags in. He hits Theory, but Theory blocks the next attack. Rollins makes a blind tag, but Lashley's able to hit a move on both Theory and Rollins. That looked great. That was a great move. Lashley then catches a dive to the outside and hits Seth's ring head into the ring post. And then out of nowhere, Dolph Ziggler's music hits. Now, if you were here at the beginning of my review, I was randomly talking about those house show results from last night, and I thought it was super weird that Dolph Ziggler defeated Theory. I'm like, first of all, that confirms that one little tiny appearance where Dolph was acting like a good guy talking to Omos and MVP, that confirms, well, we don't know it yet, but we do later on, Dolph Ziggler is a face, and he's going to have something to do with Theory, which we don't know at this point. But if you were like me and you looked at those house show results from last night, you had an inkling. So that was pretty interesting. Dolph's wearing a suit and has his hair tied back, no Bobby Roode in sight, and Ziggler has his old pink LED boards. So looks like they're going back to the old Dolph. When we go to an ad break right as Dolph comes out, and I was wondering, like I said, why Dolph fought Theory last night. Maybe we'll find out. But it looks like they're putting Dolph in the main event scene, which is good. But I don't know why they waited this last 2 months since Dolph went back to NXT, won the NXT title, retained the title at Stand and Deliver, and then dropped it back. I don't understand why, if they were always going to put Dolph in the main event scene after that point, in which maybe they weren't planning on it, they were going to have people like Cody around. But yeah, here he is 2 months after all that. Dolph Ziggler is seemingly back in the main event scene. We'll see how this goes. And last time we saw Dolph, like I said, it was him and Roode interrupting MVP and Omos. They were acting like baby faces or good guys out of nowhere. And then we never saw the Dirty Dogs again. That was about a month ago. So that was super weird. So this is, again, super weird, kind of out of nowhere. When we come back from break, Dolph is just sitting ringside, so not on commentary or anything. Riddle is fighting with Theory, but Rollins tags in. Rollins hits an inverted suplex that looked amazing. It was a superplex, I should have said. Inverted superplex. If you didn't see this move, definitely go check this move out. Riddle just barely is able to kick out of it. Dolph is now looking on intently from the outside, and as Riddle battles back with some big strikes, but Seth counters into a sleeper hold. The crowd rallies behind Riddle, who gets back to his feet, but Seth is able to throw Riddle back down and locks in a front face lock. The crowd rallies again. Riddle tries to overpower Seth to tag out. Seth tags in Theory instead, and who rolls into the ring. Theory does to try and hit a move, a rolling like chaos type move or something. An amazing counter by Riddle into a submission. I say amazing, but he wasn't able to really lock the submission on, so it was somewhat botched. But the premise of the move and whatnot looked good. Lashley and Rollins now both tag in. Lashley comes in with a ton of fire. The crowd is also on fire. Seth is able to block a Dominator attempt, but gets caught with a running power slam right after. Theory's able to come in and save Seth, breaking up the pin. Then Lashley hits a spine buster on Theory, but Seth hits a forearm to the back of Lashley's head. Seth goes up for a top rope splash 3/4 across the ring and hits it. Great move there. Lashley's able to kick out. Both men tag out. Riddle then gets the better of Theory and hits a snap power slam, then the draping DDT. This has Theory in big trouble. Riddle's now signaling for the RKO, but Seth is able to grab Theory and pull him out of the ring. Then out of nowhere, Lashley comes running in with a spear, spears Rollins through the barricade, a spot that was normally reserved against when Lashley fights other big guys. So to see him do it against a smaller guy here looked amazing. Riddle then blocks the A-Town down. Theory blocks an RKO attempt, and Theory's able to roll up Riddle and put his feet on the ropes for leverage. All of a sudden, Dolph moves for the first time since sitting down and knocks Theory's feet off the ropes. Theory gets mad at Dolph, turns into an RKO for the 1-2-3. The winners by pinfall are Riddle and Lashley. Lashley knocks over Theory as they celebrate on accident. That was pretty funny. And when Theory gets up, he turns right into a Dolph Ziggler super kick, and then Raw goes off the air. So while, first of all, this Raw was much, much, much improved over the worst SmackDown ever, but then again, it would have been almost impossible not to be. But I did feel like there was some entertainment on this Raw. Not too bad at all. I'm still not feeling the build to SummerSlam. There's too many matches I don't care about, such as Brock Lesnar versus Roman again, Pat McAfee versus Corbin, Miz versus Logan Paul, and stuff like that. I don't care about at all. But there is some good stuff to look forward to. It looks like we're going to have Liv versus Ronda. That should be interesting. And we're definitely going to have a match of the night contender in Becky versus Bianca when they had the match of the night at WrestleMania. So we know they can deliver. Another a rematch, so we're not really excited about it, but we could see where the story goes with the Theory and the Lashley U.S. title match. And then, of course, even if we're not that excited about yet another Brock and Roman match, we have the looming briefcase to make that title match at least a little more dramatic. And I think a few other matches have kind of developed or been announced, but another one for that can challenge for match of the night at SummerSlam will indeed be Riddle versus uh, Seth Rollins, and that has the potential to be a match of the night. And then another one that might be a match. I don't know if it's going to end up being a tag match or something, but Edge versus Finn Balor, I'm thinking is going to be a match, but we'll have to wait and see where that goes. We still have the whole Dominic stuff and that whole storyline. So SummerSlam's shaping up. It has a couple matches for people like me and maybe you who are going the pay-per-views for good matches and really don't care about watching Pat McAfee or Logan Paul in the ring, although maybe those will be exciting as well. We'll just have to wait and see. But there's some stuff that's going to be good as well. There's no way SmackDown's going to be worse than last week's SmackDown, so we'll see what happens on there. I don't know if Roman's scheduled to be on SmackDown, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not. I could see Roman taking another SmackDown off and then coming back for the final 2 weeks before SummerSlam. But other than that, decent show tonight. That main event was really hot, really good main event. We got yet another Edge vignette, so that we furthered along that thing. We pretty much all but confirmed Logan Paul will fight The Miz. Maybe it'll end up being a tag match with Ciampa involved, with with AJ potentially teaming with Logan Paul, so that's a possibility. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's anything I kind of forgot. The Street Profits Usos, of course, that's going to be another good match, even though I didn't quite necessarily want to see it 2 times in a row. Oh, and don't forget, I am predicting Alexa and Asuka to be the new women's tag team champions. That's if the women's tag team champions aren't abolished forever. So I could see that potentially being another match at SummerSlam. Maybe Alexa and Asuka versus whoever your top 2 women are that don't already have a match. So maybe a returning Bailey or Charlotte could be part of that tag match, or maybe the 2 of them teaming up to fight Asuka and Alexa. That could be a decent match. So some of these other matches that are going to get announced as we go here should be on the better side if you're not again into the celebrity matches and stuff. So I think I'm all out of stuff to talk about. So I will be back tomorrow night for the NXT 2.0 review, And we've got a big title match, Roxanne Perez versus Mandy Rose. Will Mandy Rose finally drop the title after, I think, over 200 days? She's had the title for a long time. So there's 3 possibilities that could happen in that match tomorrow. Either Mandy Rose just beats Roxanne, maybe with cheating with the rest of Toxic Attraction. Roxanne just wins, and we have a dual champion, I think, for the first time ever in the women's division. I'm not quite sure, but I'm not quite sure if we had a tag and a women's champion at the same time. But that'll be interesting. The third option and the most interesting one is Cora Jade is the tag partner of Roxanne and their tag champions. Does Cora Jade turn heel tomorrow night and cost her own tag team champion partner the match? So I think that's a definite possibility. It should be a good show. And also Giovanni Vinci, formerly known as Fabian Eichner, will fight Apollo Crews. So if you've been wondering where the heck Apollo Crews has been, he's been back on NXT. He dropped the fake accent and is back to his normal self, and seemingly has can I'm not even joking when I say this. Apollo Crews can now look into the future, so Apollo Crews can read the future. But anyway, I'm gonna get going. Thanks for tuning in. You guys have a great one. Peace.